RPG games have never really been my main game type, but occasionally I've found a couple that I have loved playing through, especially when I was younger. Obviously, a lot of the Mario games, Rayman, even back then. Playing through Kingdom Hearts was an absolute classic, as where I could upgrade my character, take down some bosses. And I've missed a bunch of these games over the past years, going even back to God of War 2018. I got all excited, then I tried Cyberpunk, a little less excited. Ragnarok, back to hyped. But that, of course, led me to Hogwarts Legacy. Playing through this game, everybody wanted to know what's my rating. So I want to give it to you up front. I'm giving this an 8.6 out of 10. But there is a lot more nuance in what stood out in my 35-hour playthrough. And since it's been a while we sat down and chatted, I thought this would be the perfect chance to do so. Not to say that I'm some crazy reviewer. I always try and just give you guys all my biases, what I like, dislike, whatever. Just do with the information as you please. This is just my impressions after playing through the entirety of the game. Obviously, there's still a ton more that you can 100% in the challenges, as well as even do the achievements. This isn't going to be your proper reviewer. More so, the dude that just occasionally plays some of the biggest titles. This game actually came out, and it worked. I have been so scared trying to watch gameplay, trying to see, is this gonna be Cyberpunk? Or we're gonna get a game that's gonna take 5 months to bug fix and fix. We got a complete game. I ran into 2 bugs while I was playing through. One being a little cash sack that was behind a rock. I couldn't get to it when I did Revelio. I missed out on a couple gold, and then there was one character in Hogsmeade that I could not see. They didn't have a face, and then when the cutscene happened, they were just not there altogether. And I did hear about PC problems where people were dropping frames and having issues. However, of course, I have the most high-end PC I could possibly get with a damn 4090 in it, so maybe not the best point there either, but it ran absolutely perfect. Over 150, if not 200 FPS the entire way through, maximum ultra settings, ray tracing on, and it looked gorgeous. Looking out into the distance, seeing the hills, and then flying straight to it, being able to see the entire school sitting so beautifully on top of the water, seeing the reflections, the light, even the moonlight at night, the detail in the trees, the faces. Although I will say a lot of the faces were a little odd, especially during a lot of the cutscenes. But for it being a video game with the amount of dialogue that it has and everything that is here, insane. Even the controls for getting on flying, being able to quickly get on your broom, fly off into the distance, it felt very free and quick to use. It felt like even if they were to add racing into this, which they did have a couple timed courses, obviously having Quidditch in the game would be amazing as well. And all the animations made it look very impressive. Likewise, exploring around the game, especially for it being such a massive world, which I did not even realize. Like, yeah, they said anything that you see, you'll be able to go to. There are invisible walls on some of the exteriors, but after finishing a couple quests going north up to Hogsmeade, which you have to run to at first, takes, 5 minutes or whatever to even get to, because it is pretty far, especially without the broom at first. Till then, you keep unlocking more and more quests that are taking you farther and further south that I didn't even look at the whole map at the beginning, but it's like the whole world, it was so big. As you're going through it, though, there's so many things to do. Like, if you get distracted easily, it's, oh, yeah, I'll just do this on the way. And you do 5 things on the way to wherever you're going, and now it's been 30 minutes. Now, as I played through, I did avoid a lot of stuff to not just completely get locked in on it. And some of those things were a bit repetitive, like some of the Merlin trials that you had to do. There's a ton of them, but they start to become repetitive after you've done probably around 5 to 10 of them. You've seen all of the different kind of puzzles, and then they're just in different locations in the world. On top of that, there's diminishing returns on all of the challenges that you do for experience, which makes it not as worth doing after you've done some of them. But the same thing goes going through the castles, like with even the paintings being alive. You go in a certain hallway, and all of the paintings are even playing music. The little knight armor starts fighting each other. On top of all the students that are talking about classes, exams, even what's going on in the world as the dialogue of the game kind of progresses. It becomes Halloween, Christmas, the decorations, the castle changes, even the weather outside, everything covers in snow. I will say a lot of the dialogue supposedly doesn't really change a lot in the game, especially if you compare it to something like Mass Effect, which is like massive effects on the entire game and how the whole thing plays out. But that's not really the purpose of the game, and I think even a lot of the voice lines were still very well acted, and it let them put more effort into it. Some of the voices were a little weird, but then again, that's kind of just how school was, especially at that age, right? But I think my favorite part of the game was the actual combat itself. And every time I was playing it, especially for the entire intro, maybe the first like 5-10 hours, I was like, I just want to fight more stuff. Because a lot of it is going through school and classes and learning the game and setting up the entire setting for it, which I totally get. That's very much Harry Potter story. I rewatched all the movies before this. It was a little weird that it's a 5th year coming in and your first attempt, you just nailed the spell the first time when all these other kids probably spent, years practicing it. But once I did get into the combat, the actual ability to just freely cast so many spells, like in the movies, you don't see them really doing too much, or it's kind of like one spell, Expelliarmus, takes their wand away. Maybe they cast a couple more outside of just a few big battles that happen at some of the end of the movies. It was crazy to just see all of the spells you can fling, the combinations that you could do with it, the vulnerabilities that certain enemies had, like timing flips on the club for the troll or pulling the tongue out of the toad, cutting it off. I do think there could have been more use of some of the different characters that they had. It felt a bit repetitive in terms of trying to focus down specific colored shields. A lot of the packs you could clear, you could stupefy and then continue through. You didn't have to get into too much combat, or even when you did get in combat, especially at the end game, you have so much utility in your belt between the mandrakes, the tentacula. You're trying to pop an invisibility potion so you could swig the Maxima, get your focus potion on. I'm just trying to stack everything. By the time it's done, everybody's dead from the plants or everything's faded that I initially had started to pop. And so many different spells that you can cast, trying to switch between all the menus and everything did feel a little bit clunky. I was really thinking of playing this on mouse and keyboard. I played on controller for the whole time, but it still left me limited to where I'd have to scroll through the different spells. It would have been really fun if I could have individually bound all of the spells, similar to playing, WoW or something. Even playing on the hardest difficulty, it wasn't extremely hard. Now, that being said, I probably could have played through the game and saved myself another 10 hours if I didn't do the amount of side quests and missions that I did. But anything that had to do with gear power-ups, both leveling it up, gemming it, getting new spells, as well as I was very particular with the talents as I spent them. Maybe I was just ahead on the power curve of what was even needed for the bosses that I was going against. I think they could have been a little bit more tricky. There could have been even more waves to it. I was having a lot of fun with the combat. It would have been great to even just master it more, have a bigger challenge to even go through. And I did a lot of the battle arenas as well. Those were actually probably the most challenging part of the game, but they were also repetitive, so you could continue to farm it for XP if you wanted to. But then you would know exactly what was coming each of the waves, and you can kind of plan your spells around it, which was nice. But I always like just a central, big-ass boss with some specific mechanics you got to learn, counter. And I get it. I don't think that was necessarily the main point of the game. And for what they provided here, I thought it was very fun. And it definitely left me satisfied and wanting more. But I think the big point with the game was the story, which had a couple surprises as I went through. Again, no spoilers, but also wasn't like the most revolutionary, mind-blowing, interstellar type movie. It was fun, had its ups and downs, and even the side quests carried over and kind of tied into the main missions very well. Should I get this game, Stone? Is it worth it? And while I'm a little biased, I'd say you could just watch my playthrough of it and enjoy. You don't need to buy it. There's a couple different fun dialogue options you can get into. While it is a much more linear game, some of those dialogue options and how you want to play it is also kind of fun to see how you would do it. Because you could also spend way more time in this game just immersing in the world and exploring everything. To that point of what I was talking about of detail, I didn't even talk about the Room of Requirement, which is an entire world almost of its own where you can completely customize your own house that expands as you unlock more stuff. You have animals around the world you can capture, take home, build an environment for, feed, and even breed, creating more animals. You could sell them, poach them. That's what I kind of did a little bit of. We don't need to tell the rest of the students about it. But this is also where you can upgrade your gear. You can create an entire farm there with pots, creating the plants and herbs that you need, creating potions. And even in those environments where your pets stay, you can even get resources for your place. You don't even have to go out around the world. And if you want a ton of resources, you'll need to. But you can get a couple things here and there and build it up. It's like if we had a game that was a mobile game that was this in-depth and actually let you play it and just have fun, it would be the #1 game in the world. Instead, all of that stuff's time-gated. You got to spend $5, $10 every day to do whatever. They just let you do it all and just have fun and play the game here. It's quick. It's rewarding. The level of customization there, as well as even for your character, being able to customize the way that you look. Now, in my playthrough, I didn't do any of that, but I was mostly just farming comments from everybody who kept saying, that I needed to change my look when it was just so jarringly weird with the lizard glasses. I had a lot of fun reading a lot of these comments. But even the overall systems that they had in the game for leveling, there was a place you could farm in that battle arena, but for the most part, you can't just endlessly go farm animals and get infinite XP. At some point, you cap out the challenge and you no longer earn XP from that. If you want to go kill a bunch of dark wizards, you can do that to a certain point. Then there's no more XP. It kind of forces you to go do a lot of the side content just to continue to progress your character. They leave these low-hanging fruit in different areas that give you a whole bunch of XP when you start slowing down in other areas that then kind of synergize, and it feels like, okay, I'm going to go do this challenge, but I'm going to also get progress for my character to get another talent point for the missions. Like, the devs of this game designed such a beautiful system and overall game. I was very impressed with the actual playthrough and being able to kind of do what I want while also following a story. Now, am I going to go continue to play through 100% the game? No. I got everything I needed to out of it. It was a bunch of fun. If they come out with some big DLC, some more stories, anything, I definitely want to play through it. But I love that they also do have that, and they have every single nook and cranny covered with a bunch of different challenges that you can do for everybody that does want to do all of them. And there's already been many people who have 100% of the game. That is the summary of kind of my impression from it, playing through it, where I'm at with this. If you guys played it as well, what did I miss? Even if you watch my playthrough, which is going to be uploaded as episodes now over on my Beyond channel, I'll read through the comments, throw in some additional thoughts, and let me know what you've thought of it so far too. There's a couple more games coming out I am very excited for, and I am planning to continue some more playthroughs for, and maybe I'll even do some more commentary summarizing some of it. We just played through 007. GoldenEye was a crazy experience. We've got the Jedi The Fallen Order next game coming out. We have Jedi Survivor coming out, which is the next game after Jedi The Fallen Order. And after my Hitman Challenge video, doing as Say It As It Did, I actually have been looking at the game, and I think I'm going to do a playthrough of that as well. Give it a like if you enjoyed a little bit of the insight, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Stoneman64, over and out.